Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I've drawn the blank, which is good, but the rest of the rack's slightly problematic. I can't get rid of the F with the Q unless I burn the blank to make fakirs, and I don't think the score justifies that. So priority is to get rid of the Q, and I can do that with chi. Well, still not quite a bingo with this rack. And this time it's the F and the J, which it's going to be a struggle to get rid of both of them, unless an E or an F appears for Jeff A or Jeff. However, it's still a nice balanced rack. And the blank always promises the prospects of an early bingo. Usually if the blank stays on your rack for 5 or 6 moves, it means you've missed a bingo. Chi takes an N and an S after it. So what would I do if opponent changes? I don't have an I for going underneath the Q, and that restricts what is available. If I can't play off the J and the F, I'd like to play off the J with the G. And I do have Jag on my rack, but I'd be reluctant to play Jags and Cheese because I'm burning the S and providing an easy opportunity for opponent to score off the J, either with a parallel play or a double word play. I'm just mentally wondering if there are any bingos with this rack. I'm fairly sure there aren't any 7s. Now, that's pretty good. Only 24 for opponent, and Vital takes an A, which I have. I don't think I can get rid of the F and the J without burning the blank. But what about Jags down here? And although I'm burning the S, opponent can't really score well off the J. 33 points is pretty good, and retaining the blank compensates quite a lot for burning the S, and this is giving very little away. It's not only not providing opponent an opportunity to score off the J, it's basically not providing much of an opportunity at all, and A Vital doesn't take an S. Now Vital does allow a 6-letter play across the top onto this triple word square. So if I could get the J double, there might be a big score, but I think that would just be comparable to the Jags move. I'm going with this. Pretty good. I think with the blank as an F, I have Afir. And that does currently play in row G. And I have Seafarer off the S. And I'm fairly sure I will have something through the L. But nothing has come to mind. And I think it's unlikely that all of those will be blocked, but it is possible. Now, there are 5-letter plays ending in J. I can think of Aflaj and Basij, and there could be others, but there aren't a ton of them. Just wondering where else to look for bingos. IT doesn't look particularly promising for a 9-letter play. So what about this L? Let me take this time to have a squiz. So I would have the able ending, fearable, not sure about that. So this rack plus an L. Well, I still haven't seen anything. That would be in, scrub that. I was thinking of inferior, but that doesn't use 2 A's. Now, has opponent blocked everything? He hasn't, because my row G bingo of Afir is good. And I can stop this exercise because the L's been taken out. What about Seafarer. Well, that has been blocked. Do I have another S play? It would require probably two E's underneath Z, and I don't have that. So 67 points, not a great score. Affair takes a D and an S, but I think it's all that's available. And I draw the second blank. Fantastic. And I could have a bingo here. I'm immediately wondering about Sewinny. Something doesn't feel quite right about that. Maybe it has an anagram. Swinny, perhaps. Well, if column 15 remains available, I can try both of those as it's void challenge. And I have a decent lead. Now, what about these other floaters? I guess if opponent plays a cross underneath a fear, he'll be taking out everything. Although row F will be available as a 7-letter lane. But an S doesn't go in front of AIT, so I'd have to use the blank as a tile, which did. I'm discounting the W as the concluding letter in a bingo. Now, what about sevens? Let me have a look for them. And I'll also mention any eights which come to mind. So this is the ING ending. Well, not seeing anything there. So many of these plays ending Y look like they could end EY as well, and it's very difficult to keep them all apart. Plus you have the same word ending IE, and that's one of the tricky tasks, disambiguating those options. So possibly Winnie. Okay, so let me stop and look at what opponent's done. 91-point bingo. There are still floaters available. The moves I was thinking about, see Winnie. Something not quite right about that. And Winnie, don't play as sevens. So it's really the A and the R, possibly the E. To what extent do I spend time looking for a bingo? Or do I look to score off the W and Y and look to bingo in a subsequent turn? Tricky. And there isn't an obvious spot to play W and Y. I'd like to get rid of the N as well. And WYN is good, WYNN is good. But I don't wish to play that in row I onto the S because I'm taking out bingo lanes and I'm not scoring very much. So let me get back to the previous exercise. And I think I was up to L. But now I'm mainly looking for this rack plus an A or an R. So that would be the man ending. A or R. I've got the any prefix, the un prefix. No, this is not looking productive. What to do? Tricky. I really don't want to block the board up. I actually trail as a consequence of opponent's bingo. Well, what about playing you here? It creates a new lane in row E, but not a lane for bingos ending in S. It provides easy scoring spots for opponent. It's only 24 points. It's retaining double N. That's really not very good. I could play wins across here onto the S. Terrible score, but totally sorting the rack out and keeping all bingo lanes open. Now, if there is a bingo here, it probably ends in a Y. Most Y bingos begin or end with the Y, and it's mainly end. There's no L for an LY ending. No, I think I need to give up on the idea of there being a bingo here. What about playing Y? 18 points. Or 10 points. The N, the duplicate N counts for about 5 points, so these moves aren't massively far apart. I am going with this. Pretty good. I am surely bingoing now. So what do I have in row F? Well, again, I don't have a tile which goes in front of 8, so my blank would have to be a B, G, R, or T. So I have puniest, or W, and I have, surely I have something through the R. Well, I have petunias through the A, so I am bingoing. And I may have a bigger overlap in row F. I'm not seeing anything through W and Y. And 3 consonants makes it hard for opponent to play in row L, so wins isn't actually proving that much of a distraction. What it did do was totally sort my rack out and leave bingo lanes available, and that has worked out because I am almost certainly bingoing. I have rep units down from the R, which gets the P doubled. That's quite nice, and that stops short of row O. So that's my preferred option so far. No double in column 11 because a vital takes nothing. So what about a bigger overlap? Such a play could end IER. Or just IE would get quite a lot of extra value. So blank as a B, not seeing anything. Blank as a G, spewing, and which goes, and Gwineps, which doesn't go. R, purines, pruines, and there may be another one there. Opponent taking a while with this play, which is fine because I can use that as thinking time. Well, opponent takes out my rep units spot. There could be a big overlap, but I think it's unlikely. A lot of tiles would have to be in a very precise position. And I'm going to struggle to slot the U in. So it could begin UN, UNI. No, I'm not seeing anything there. So I have puniest, which at least gets the P tripled. That's 69 points. Is there anything better? Possibly a double through A and I, but that would take a lot of looking for. I'm going with this. Wow, pretty good pickup. I have N rough and roughen, but not a 7-letter friendly board, so I don't think either of those will play. Tate takes nothing in front. Still the A and R as floaters, but they don't go well with this rack. Now I have bow in column 8, which will score quite well and leave a decent rack leave. Floating P and U, not particularly good. So what else do I have to consider? Punius takes nothing in front, nor does wins. At the moment I have bow, but opponent could block that. But if he does block it by playing down, there'll be 3 floaters to consider. But unless one of them's an S, I don't think it's going to help me. This is a good rack for 7-letter bingos because I have 2, but it just doesn't look like it makes many 8s. And I'm not seeing anything with the UN prefix. Now, what do I have in row E? I have an H or G, which can go above the I. Fantastic! Opponent provides a spot for Ruffin. Thank you, opponent. Ruffin for 79. Bang! And not a bingo, but not a bad rack either. And I now lead by 90. And the board is not massively bingo-y friendly. There are no blanks to come. There's the floating A and R, and there's the 7-letter lane in row N. But that's not a great lane, because a bingo won't get doubled. A 7-letter play stops 1 square short of this double word square, and this double word square requires a ridiculous number of overlaps. So not only is that a face value bingo, but it will be providing access to row O, which I would have first dibs at. So I'm quite attracted by the idea of trying to block the bingo lanes in the top right. And of course there's the R for row D. So a play of Voma would do quite a nice job. 20 points. 32 tiles in the bag, so there's still quite a lot of action to come. I'm close to come over, which may not be good. Comb over is. Still 1B to come, but I'm not going to fish the L. So this is quite a nice rack because I have 3 scoring tiles and I should be able to play off 2 of them, which should get me an okay score this turn and also leave me in good shape to get an okay score next turn as well. Now, close to Moviola. Well, if the A and the I were differently placed and ordered. I'm not seeing anything in row E. That is potentially a decent spot. Of the scoring tiles, there's just the Z to come. That's the really high scoring tiles. Now, do I have anything better than Voma? Still 3 O's to come. Well, I have Clover. And the C is just as useful as the V for shutting down parallel plays. And that is 1 more tile played. Still 1 S to come. And an H, and I mention that because I've noticed that T takes a C after it. I have Velcro in column 13. So what has opponent done? Well, he's provided a couple of floaters, but they're not massively useful. So I'm minded to play Clover for 22. Pretty good. it may not be bingo-y, but it is balanced, and I do have scoring tiles, and I've got about a 100-point lead. Clover has killed the top right, and also massively disrupted W and I as floaters. I would have to be in precisely 4th position. Having said that, the remaining tiles do look bingo-y. I can easily deal with the W and I by playing Yom, and that really demonstrates the value in having these scoring tiles. It enables you to keep on scoring 20 to 30 points and choking the board up. And there's still quite a few scoring tiles to come. Having said this is a bingo-y set of tiles, there's still the B, C, F, H, K, M, P and Z, which is a lot. And if they're on opponent's rack, they're hampering him getting a bingo. If they're on my rack, they're helping me score. So what if Yom isn't available? What about bottom left? Well, I don't have anything, but opponent might, and that would create a new bingo lane. Well, I'll deal with that should that. I'll think about that should it happen. Row L. Well, opponent's gone in my Yom spot. And although he's taken out bingo lanes, they were not particularly useful. I could play Mai and Yao. Let me check the remaining vowels. 12 out of 29, so slightly vowel dry. But I'm reluctant to hang on to vowels. Opponent has taken out row E, or massively reduced its value. What about row L? Well, just wondering if I have a play beginning with M and ending in Y. So an M-O-I. No, I don't think I do. Or M-O-A. Nope. Okay, so where am I looking? Tricky. Well, what about Ori? 28 points, which is a decent score. An okay rack leave. I'm not creating bingo lanes, and as soon as opponent plays around here, he'll be disrupting the bingo lane in row N. And if opponent doesn't play around that spot, I will. Although it's tricky to play under I-O. And I would need an E for going underneath the R, but there are 3 to come and I have one. So is there anything better than Ori? Not that I can see. Wow, pretty horrendous. So no vowel drought on my rack. There are moves which sort this rack out, but I'm not sure any of them play, and I'm thinking of idiom and modi. That is a grim pick. Look at this, I have drawn all of the I's. And I don't have anything at the bottom of column 1. And this is a really frustrating rack, having mentioned how good it is to have scoring tiles on a rack to keep scoring 20 or 30. As soon as the rack becomes imbalanced in this fashion, that can become hard. Fortunately, I have a 100-point lead, but if opponent were to bingo now, the complexion of the game would change. I'm not seeing any decent spots to play. HM is good. So, opponent creates a new lane, row B. So, does provide a spot for modi, which burns 5 tiles, which means there would be 11 tiles left. If opponent bingos, there'd be 4 tiles left. The I, not massively dangerous underneath this triple letter square, but I am hugely increasing the value of a bingo if opponents got one, but I'm not sure that the remaining tiles are massively bingo-y. Z, 2 U's, F, B, not bingo-y tiles, and the vowel shortage. Opponent could play Ritz, 69, and that would be bad. Is this an unnecessary risk? It might be. 8 minutes on my clock. I'm really looking for spots where I can play off 2 I's, and Imido is the third anagram of idiom. Just wondering if I have anything above afeared. Well, it's not going to score very much. 8 minutes on my clock. What a tricky position. And I don't want to change. I must be able to score something. Well, certainly Modi I think is better than changing. So what about Dovia? 20 points, only 2 I's with no I's to come and a vowel drought, so that's not disastrous, and I'm not giving very much away. If opponent bingos in row B, I will have access to triple word squares. I am going with this. And I draw the F, which is good. I quite like the scoring tiles. Holds out the prospect of scoring. Close to a bingo here, but I'm not seeing one. Just wondering if I have a play with the F on this triple letter square, which gets doubled. Not seeing such a play. Now I do have an N for going underneath I-O. Do I have an FR play at the bottom? And I don't. Gosh. Only one E to come, and that's an encouraging sight because an E is a bingo-y tile and opponent trails by over 100, so really would benefit from a bingo. I could have a bingo through the D. I would have the ED ending or the field ending, so close to minefield. I would need an extra E for that. Do I have anything down from the Y? No, so I don't think I've identified any candidate moves. And I have, well, 7 minutes, which is quite good. So, row N for ing words. Gosh, I'm close, but I don't think I have one. But what I can do is score well. This is 36 points, which is big. This puts me 110 points in the lead. It leaves just 3 tiles in the bag. It leaves 4 tiles in the bag. So opponent could get a Z score here using 3 tiles, leaving 1 in the bag. Okay, so this isn't ideal. So that was 36. That's only 30. Well, I think filing the extra points are worth it, and the M is going to be useful for outrunning my opponent if he puts together some big scores. Look at the remaining vowels, only 5, and if opponent, say, has a Z play in row O, the most likely is ZOA, which burns 2 of them. I am going with filing. Wow, and I draw vowels, which is a great sight, because it means there are only 2 out of the remaining pool of 11 tiles. So opponent unlikely to bingo, but he could have spatter in row B. But he'll be burning at least one of those vowels, I think, wherever he plays. I have an A and an E for going underneath the F. I have cram in column 1. So I'm in pretty good shape. I don't have a bingo, but I do have scoring options. So can I get a scoring tile on this triple letter square? I have chode, 34 points. Not seeing a bingo through that D. Cram, 33 points, which is good. I've got 30-point options opposite sides of the board and a 100-point lead. That should get the job done. So opponent leaves 1 in the bag. He does burn one of his vowels. And he leaves alone this spot in row O, which is probably the one which he would score the most from. So what do I have in row O? 5 minutes on my clock. So I have Matchy for 41. Wow, Z, last one in the bag. Interesting. And no O for Ouzo. That's available. Gosh. Okay, well, usually when you have 3 tiles, you're optimistic of being able to go out, but I'm not. But I do need to consider the board. I think I have done enough to win. I can put my Z between A and E for 20 odd points. I've got Zoo in row C and in row B. But could there be... I have Zo, DZO, 26 points. Is there an out? If there is, it's likely to be better than any of the plays I've considered. Uzi not good. Nothing with the M. 5 minutes on my clock. Maybe I played Matchy a little too quickly. Maybe I should have seen if I could get rid of the U. Well, it's not a huge point because this game is won. Now through E and L I would have Auzel, but they would need to be together. So I'm really not seeing an out with these tiles. Opponent down to his last minute. And he's got just the one vowel. He's got a pretty poor rack, and he's in a pretty grim situation. He will know that the game is lost. And with only one vowel, he's probably not facing terribly many candidate moves. The best I've seen for myself is DZO. Can I do better? So that was 26 points. 3 points for opponent, leaving himself with 6 tiles, so he can't bingo, but he can make the word Brent. Okay, so he can't go out next turn. He can play Brat. I can't block this, so I might as well just forget about it. I'm going to play Zo. That's not giving anything away. Opponent can just put his B above there, but he'd be better off playing Brat. And then I do have spots for my U. I'm going with this. So where's the best spot for my U? Opponent's going to play pretty quickly because he's almost out on time. us for 2, ut for 4, ug and un for 5, yeah, that'll do. And the final score, 335 to my opponent, 460 to me, a winning margin of 125 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Well, quite a big margin of victory, but that didn't feel like I was comfortable. Now, I think it was the Z and the bingo lane still being available, and a 100-point lead I don't ever feel completely happy with because that can disappear. So it was me to go first, and I played Chi, and I like that. Opponent plays Vital, and this is my rack, and I played Jags, H5. That looks fine. Opponent plays Z, and now I have Afear, but Afeared was good, and that would be better because it wouldn't take any hook, so that is actually a big difference between those two. And then a couple of others. Gosh, interesting. Opponent, well, he does actually have a ton of bingos, and I suspect not all of them use the Afear hook. So, did I have one? No, I didn't. Fantastic. But K8, when he was available, making Axe and Lin for 35 points. That's nice. What did I do? Oh, wow, wins for 10. So, yes, Wenny would have been a lot better. And I think, although I say Wenny would have been a lot better, and it would have been, I think I was averse to looking in that spot because I was concerned about blocking bingo lanes, but that was to my dismerit in the sense that Wenny was undoubtedly a better play. Whoops, this was my rack. Repulsion, G13. So in my rep unit spot, I could have played Repulsion and Repulsing for 76. Well done if you spotted those 9-letter plays. And there are a ton of bingos, and I got 69 for Puniest, only 7 off the highest score. Opponent's rack plays Toad, which is absolutely fantastic because I can now get Roughen down, and I have a 90-point lead. Opponent plays Win, and now what do I do? Nothing that's here. I played Clover for 22, N6 Chalom. Okay, well, Clover wasn't about scoring rack leave only, it was also about taking out bingo lanes, so I like that play. Opponent's rack plays OK. Now N3. Gosh, what a play. Rimai, making Onai, but sticking an E above this triple word square, so although it looks nice and it's a good score, I don't think I'd have played it if I'd seen it. And I got 28 points, which was a decent score for Ori. Now, quite a nice rack for opponent. No bingo, plays N. And this was the problematic rack for me. Fortunately, I have a 90-point lead. N6 Demoy. Well, a lot of these suggestions are, for these last few moves, have involved playing in row N, which I was averse to doing. So I played Dovia for 20, and I like that. Opponent plays Yuga. And now I play Filing for 36. N3 Nief. Well, there you go again, using that spot. So I like Filing. Opponent down to just one vowel and plays it. I have a ton. So B2. Wow, look at that. Champ, How, and a Kin for 46 and retaining the vowels, but with one tile in the bag. Keeping 3 vowels isn't good. So I play Matchy. I could have played Mocha, possibly a better play. But I think, well, there aren't the plays being suggested here which are, to my mind, obviously better than Matchy, so I think Matchy's okay. Opponent's rack. Plays Wren. And finally, A14. Well, Zo is available, but that would be hopeless because opponent could then play Ab for a big score, so I think Zo is better. L14 Rons also available down here, which was quite nice. Opponent plays Brats, and finally Nug for 8, which is 3 better than the play I found. So, what a game. A tremendous fun. Always good to get a score in the mid 400s or above and to get a big margin of victory. And as you can see from looking at the board, action spread out to all 4 corners. So a good battle there. Many thanks to my opponent for that battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.